This is episode 262 of the Fearless Launching Show. I'm your host, Ann Samoylov. Today, we're going to be talking all about the 4 things you need to do, no matter if you're testing a campaign or you're testing a new thing in your business or you're launching. These are 4 things that can make the entire process so much better, so much more successful of a test or a launch. And let me just tell you, these are some mistakes that I made very recently, so I can't wait to share these with you. Hi, I'm Ann Samoylov, and I've helped some of the biggest online entrepreneurs and business owners have successful 6- and 7-figure product launches. By working in the trenches offline to produce movies, TV shows, video games, I've discovered so many different ways to launch creative ideas. And the question is, do you have to copy what your guru says in order to have a successful launch? Do you have to use their done-for-you system in order to have success, in order to achieve your goals in business? I say no. This is the Fearless Launching Show featuring myself and an ongoing cast of characters, friends who join me in discussing business, launching, life, and balancing it all and having an amazing time doing it. Let's get into today's episode. Welcome back to another episode of the Fearless Launching Show. So first of all, I just want to say thank you to all of you who participated, who emailed me, who just listened straight up or watched any of the Launch Love Challenge episodes or videos, wherever you watched it, wherever you listened, however you participated, whether maybe you just listened to a few episodes and you downloaded the guidebook, which by the way is still available. You can still grab that. I'll put that in the show notes. Whatever you did, if you participated in some way, then I want to thank you. And today I wanted to kind of wrap up this entire series because you know what? I could have kept going on and on and on and on, but there were some issues, some things that I had to finally just come to grips with and said, you know what, we're going to stop this. We're going to stop this today. So if you haven't listened to any of the final episodes, make sure just to go back over to the podcast. There's probably about 15 of them and they're super short. You can probably Netflix binge them in a couple hours at the most. And if you have no idea what I'm talking about, well, in the month of February and a little bit of March, I started going through a launch challenge guidebook that I created actually for an actual challenge we did inside our Fearless Launching program. Now, what I decided to do was like, you know what? Here's my content. I'm going to go on IGTV. I'm going to then export all of the audio. Those are going to be my episodes for the entire month of February. And that's as far as I went with it. So today I figured, you know what? I'm going to share 4 things that really would have made the challenge itself for myself a lot easier and also would have given you a lot more of me. So these are really simple. And I think it's a really good reminder, the 4 things that I'm going to share with you. It's such a good reminder of no matter what you're doing in your business, whether you feel like you're just doing a little experiment, a test, you're just playing around with something, that you can still get the most out of that test, get the most out of whatever it is you're doing by just taking a moment and thinking about these 4 elements, because I think these are the 4 elements that are going to make you successful no matter what you're doing. So whether it is a test or perhaps it's a full-on launch or it's a full-on project that is important to you and you kind of had some inkling of what was going to happen. So let me go through these one by one. And again, if you want the challenge guidebook, I'm just going to leave it up and all you do is you're going to click on the link. It'll open up. You'll see like a page with literally the plainest of plain opt-in boxes. And you're going to just put your information in and you're going to get it. And then I'll send it to you by email. Okay, so let's dive in to this episode. And really, this is like, I just want to say that this is kind of similar to what I do when I jump on my office hours calls or my weekly check-ins with my coaching group. And this is not unlike that. So you might hear me talk in a way that I haven't normally talked on a podcast before. I have literally 4 things here. I don't have any script. There's no, working out all of the bits and pieces. I just want to really just reflect and show you what that's like to reflect. And I want to challenge you to also think, oh, I could do this same process. I could think about my last project that I was just playing around or experimenting with and see how I could make it better. So that's my goal here is to show you, is to be very meta, to talk about this experiment, but also show you how to approach your experiments to know if they went well, what you learned from them, how you can move forward with new tests, new experiments in your business, and or just new ways of approaching your launches as well. Okay, I'm going to get into this. So first of all, systems/process. I didn't have a system or process for this test, and I think that is important no matter what you're doing. We often think that we need a system for something we're going to keep doing over and over again, but I do think that there's value in listing out what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. And if this challenge were simply me recording a video and posting it on IGTV, that would be one thing. And maybe I wouldn't need that much of a system or that much of a process. But there still are steps that I would have to do each and every time, or that I would need to pass off to someone each and every time. So the second you want to do anything, experiment or an ongoing project, create just a list of what's going to happen each time you do the thing, that you post a video, that you share a piece of content, whatever it is, write it down. So my process might be Anne records the weekly videos. Let's say records 5 videos, puts them in Dropbox. Step 2, upload to Dropbox. Step 3, import to InShot. Apply warm filter and move it back to 30%. So literally get in the practice of doing this where you create a process or at least a checklist for yourself. By the way, checklist is another non-fancy way of saying system. It's the process you're going to go through every single time. So you're not thinking about it. So even if you're not recording all that content, all the videos in advance, you'll at least be able to take out your little checklist for your IGTV video and then just put it in there. The reason why I needed this system more than even just that was that I had this idea that I was going to also repurpose the content and put it up on my podcast. Now that happened, but it didn't happen the way I wanted it to. It wasn't very seamless. It went up every week. Every 5 days or so, I would just upload 5 episodes. There was no show notes. I didn't even get that far. So I just put everything up there, but it would be very easy to create those show notes. But actually now I've decided, you know what? I don't need those show notes. That's totally fine. That was an experiment. I decided not to do that. But if I had had a system or a process, I wouldn't even have thought about it, which is what I did. And when you think about things, even if you don't do them, or you don't want to do them, it's like you're having to make a decision each and every time. So it clogs up the entire process. So that's one thing. A system is always important when you're experimenting, when you're launching, and really just start making that checklist for yourself. Something as you do things, you're like, oh yeah, that's important to do. Maybe have a running list of things you're always going to do when you launch a thing, when you experiment, when you put a series of content out, whatever it is. Make sure you create that checklist for yourself. And then number 2, what happens when you have that checklist is it's a little bit easier to map it out, figure out who you're going to need to help you, what they're going to need to do, when you're going to be delivering things to them. It's going to show you when it's going to happen, when it's going to end, and you're not just deciding on the fly like Anne here did, but you're going to map it out and have a really clear idea of just like, okay, our first video goes up on the 4th, the last video goes up on the 28th. And regardless of whether you're bringing your daughter to Disney World on that day or not, which is what I was doing, it still happens. And when you map it out, you have that system in place, that's what occurs. And I will say that the only map that I had that guidebook, and I was just going through it day by day by day. And then there were some things that I was like, I don't really need to do this as an IGTV video, because there are prompts that happen on a weekend. And really it's just reminders to take a day off what you're doing. And I'm like, gosh, I really wish I had thought through this a little bit better. Okay, so those are really important, whether you're launching a paid product, or you're releasing an opt-in to the world. It doesn't really matter. Think through the system, think through your checklist of what's going to happen. Like if you're creating an opt-in right now, even, what is that process you're going through? Create the content in Google Docs. I don't know, write the copy for the pages inside the Google Docs. Hand it off to someone to create a lead page or a landing page. Connect the email marketing provider with whatever landing page software you use. Write an email that goes out. Like, I'm just kind of thinking off the top of my head. So think about those things, and also give yourself some deadlines. This is something that I always tell, and I actually always just kind of give them this in the launch incubator. I don't know if they're used to it, because normally I wouldn't do that in a course, but in an incubator where there's just like small groups, like if there's a group of 4 people, I'm thinking, okay, when's that opt-in going to be ready? Like, for instance, one of the women, her opt-in, I'm going to make sure she finishes that this week by reminding her, and also finding out what else she has to do on it. And that becomes more of her process for doing opt-ins a little bit easier, because, we want to have speed in our business. We want to feel like we're making progress. And sometimes we have to push. You need pushes. And that's what I'm there for in that group specifically. Okay. So number 3 is something that I don't feel like I've ever been good at, but I am committed to getting better at this, committed to carving out time for this, because when I actually do this, it relieves so much stress, pressure. It makes things so much easier. And that's batching. If I had batched this whole thing in advance, and I did do batching, mini batches, like 5 here, 5 there, 4 there, 3 there. But if I had just done all of them, it would have just been a game changer, because then I would have been able to not have to go in and out of my system. It would have been really easy for me just to say, okay, here's my system. And when I did the mini batches, I'm not sure why I just didn't take it all the way and just do all of them, right? So I'm looking up at the ceiling like, why didn't I do all of them at once? Because there were a few days where I was just bombing through them, where I'd be like, okay, here are the episodes. I did all the episodes, and then I did all the intros for the podcast, and then I did one main outro for the podcast, and then I could have gone through and grabbed correct screenshots to put on my IGTV. It would have just made things so much easier, just the production of those videos and those audio episodes. And then finally, batching would have made number 4 even more possible, which would have been promotion, right? So my promotion of the IGTV series, I feel like, I could say, yeah, sure, maybe I didn't really know what was going to happen in these videos, so I didn't really promote it. But, there are listeners to this podcast, and you're likely listening because I'm not recording a video right now. But so there's a little bit of built-in promotion that happened with the fact that there are podcast subscribers and there are people following me on Instagram. So there were people who saw those. But on the days that I didn't create a preview for my Instagram feed, it took a few days for even a few views. So Instagram really wants you to create a preview, by the way, for your Instagram TVs. So that's in itself like so important. Like the promotion was nil. I didn't email my list. I didn't really promote it in any way. I didn't do a ton of stories. And now I'm seeing this as, if I had had the system, if I'd mapped it out, if I had batched in advance, all I would have been doing was promoting. Hey, have you seen this? Hey, we did this. Like, I would have been sharing this in email. I would have been doing more stories. I would have maybe done a Facebook Live over in the Facebook group to say, hey, have you guys seen these? These are all available now. This is what happened, or this is how you can participate. But I just kind of like didn't give it that importance. So I think if you're spending time creating something in your business, and this is how I truly feel and know that I need to improve moving forward. If someone else is involved in promotion, then it's all good. It's usually like, I'm better when somebody else can promote stuff, and then I don't have a choice. So you could get someone to do that part of the process. And if I had done all these other things, I would have seen how much available space and time would have been there for promotion. Okay. So I'm great at creating the actual content and in general, but that promotion piece, and I don't think I'm alone in this, right? So moving forward now, I am, creating this podcast. You're going to hear this, but for the people who are on my list, I'm actually, for the next couple of emails, playing catch up. And I'm just letting people know, hey, did you see this? Have you seen any of our latest episodes? And I'm going to post that on the Fearless Launching Show Instagram feed. And I'm going to post it I'm kind of playing catch up, where I've already created the stuff and now I'm going to share it. But that's okay. And then moving forward now, I am creating a system and a process for future episodes. So future episodes like this one and like the one that will come out next week. And I've also realized that my best days to get work done are Mondays. And I need to harness that attention. That actually wouldn't have happened without my being a mentor in B School right now. If you're listening to this right as we're recording it, I have been a mentor in there, and I've been watching the members. There's like a little series at the very beginning, which has you really getting clear on what your priorities are, how much time you're going to spend on it, what your goals are, how you're going to reach those goals. And part of that is really saying, I'm going to devote this time. I'm going to use my best days of work are these days. I'm going to try to really dig into that. In fact, I printed out the fun sheets so that I can do them again myself. I swear, if you guys aren't in B School or haven't taken B School, the beginning material before even Module 1 came out is insane, because it's Start the Right Business, which is all about starting the right business, but it's also great to make sure you're running the right business. So I always go through that, and I always go through the follow-through formula because of that very reason. We often forget that that's what we need to do, is review, revise, refine what we're doing and how we're doing it. And also, this is coming up again, this whole system, process, and mapping and batching in advance is coming up again for this launch incubator, which I'm sharing this a lot because applications are actually open right now for our next group, which is starting the week of April 15th. So if you want to have more conversations like this with me directly and actually share your insights about what's going on in your business and as you work towards your next launch. And if you want just help focusing in on what that launch is and what that offer is you're making and actually reaching the right people, then I would absolutely love it if you would consider applying. That actually act in itself is a great way to really get clear on the facts for yourself and your business. And so I want to encourage you to do that. The Link is in the show notes, but you can absolutely reach out to me and just say, hey, how do I apply for this? And I'll just help you straight up there. So no fuss, no muss. We're keeping these groups small, 4 to 6 people at maximum. And I am pulling together the people that I know are going to work well together. And it's a mix of private coaching, one-on-one every single month, and bi-weekly group check-ins. So you're not alone. So even though you're working with me, I mean, it's the best of both worlds, and it's very mastermind feeling. And so that's all I can say about that. If you want to check out the Launch Incubator, make sure to reach out to me or go over to AnSimolev.com and you'll see like a banner at the very top. You can click on that to go to the page and find out more. I mean, it's the way to get access to everything that I've created that's still current and that I'm still working on, and to get me looking at your launch and providing you that support that you might have needed for a while now. And I just want you to allow yourself to explore that. Okay. All right. So let me just go through these 4 things again that I want you to think through as you're creating anything, no matter what you're working on in your business right now. And if you're working towards a launch, these are even more important. Your system and your process, your checklist, like what are you doing first, second, third, fourth, fifth, and on? What's your map? Map it out. When are you starting? When is it finishing? What is happening along the way? When are those things happening? What are your goals? And then number 3, batch any content in advance if you possibly can. Take a day and create all of the content. And then that will give you more time for number 4, which is promote. Promote what you're doing. Share what you're doing. Be proud of what you're doing. Someone I met recently here in Los Angeles who's a podcaster. She's amazing. Her name is Kathy Heller. If you don't follow her already, you should. I'm going to put her info in the show notes. But she said something. She's like, I just don't understand it when people work on something and then they're not like so excited to share it with people. And I'm like, yeah, that's true. Why am I not sharing sharing my things more often? And I think we get caught up in our heads about it, or we're like so working on the thing that we forget to tell people what we're working on. So Kathy's amazing. And she turned my brain around. She's like, are you proud of your podcast? And I'm like, yes, I am. And she's like, well, then why aren't you sharing it, girlfriend? So Kathy's amazing. She does a great job sharing her podcast. And I think hers is How to Quit Your Day Job, I think that's what her podcast is called. But she's amazing. I would definitely follow her. But I've also got tons of friends and tons of people in my corner who are doing the same thing, telling me like, I didn't even know you did that. And I'm like, oh gosh. So give yourself that space. Systems will give you the space. Mapping it out will give you the space. Batching in advance as much as you can, the content, the emails, etc. And then give your space to promote and share it and spread the word and send it to your friends. Be proud of your work. Be proud of your work. Okay. That's it for today. I hope you found today's episode interesting, and I hope that it wasn't too off the cuff for you, but this is how I am with my clients and my students and my besties. I'm just talking through it. I'm thinking through the process, figuring out what I've learned, and then sharing it, because whether it's with my business besties on something I did or a promotion I ran or a campaign that I was managing, I'm thinking through things because I know that there could be one thing that I say that helps someone else figure out what they're doing. So that's what I like to do in the inner circles. And I will do that more here if you like that as well. Again, check out the Launch Incubator. The link is going to be in the show notes and over on the blog as well. And this is a 3-month mastermind. So if you've ever wanted to join a mastermind, but have been like, I don't know if I can deal with a year and paying 30 grand or something, or 20 even, then consider a 3-month mastermind where you're going to get close fast with a small group of people. And I don't want to say that this isn't for men, because we just haven't had men apply just yet. But if you, no matter who you are, if you've got a launch coming up, if you are working on a project that just seems to be never ending, if you're trying to decide between launching 2 different types of offers and you need help with that, and you want support through that, you want private coaching, you want a group, and you want resources, well, come on over to the Launch Incubator and make sure to at least consider applying, okay? All right, I will talk to you later. Have a great rest of your week, and that's it. I'll talk to you soon.